likely outcome. And by the way, look at every other EV startup and realize that was the outcome for every single one of them. And Elon would have gotten nothing. Who would accept a pay package where your most likely outcome is you get nothing? And they don't understand really the insane effort it took, the benefit shareholders got. And I think hopefully the appeals court will see that this isn't just some typical compensation case, and that in fact it's really important to uphold the ability to do this sort of incentive-based compensation
I think
plan.
The Delaware Supreme Court knows that there's so much at stake with this ruling. They know that if they were to strike this down, rule against Elon, that they're going to likely see a mass exodus of companies reincorporating from Delaware to other states, just like Tesla's already done to Texas, and Elon's other companies have already left Delaware. They've gone to Nevada, and I think Neuralink space out of Texas, but I think Boring Company maybe XAI reincorporated into Nevada for whatever reason. But they've already left Delaware, and I think if they uphold this ruling, that will only continue.
Yeah, this is a ruling that could do billions of dollars of damage to Tesla shareholders. And, I'm not even talking about a worst case scenario where Elon leaves or something because we can't pay him. The guy has so many different interests, but just in terms of the cost of legal fees, all of these things. So why would you want to incorporate in a state that does billions of dollars of damage to your shareholders and that, tries to prevent you from leaving? So hopefully the appeals court will do the right thing. I think shareholders' rights, the voice of the shareholders, they need to be in control of the company.
And the media keeps calling it a $56 billion pay package. It's actually not. Its current value is $113 billion. So a lot of money at stake here.
Right, and Judge McCormick said, look, this is actually a $2 billion pay package. At the time it was granted. The only reason it's a $56 billion pay package now is because he's been so massively successful. So it's kind of funny to penalize him and try and inflate the value because he's delivered so much in gains for shareholders. If anything, that justifies giving him the $2 billion plan.
Cried and I cried and I cried. I stepped out of the theater and I kept crying. I drove
Let's
home.
go to
I kept crying. I got here. Thought I was good. Went to bed.
Yeah, let's do it. I know we kind of already beat a dead horse on the Delaware thing because we all talked about it on like 5 different spaces.
First, let me thank our sponsor really quickly. Thank you to The Matter Key for sponsoring this episode of Tesla Talk. We really appreciate it. You can see a link up there. This is a dash cam USB key that you can put in your Tesla. It's got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth capabilities. It's got a little computer in there, which means you can transfer the clips to your phone. You can have the full clips automatically sync to Dropbox or other cloud services, which is great if you run a large fleet and want to be able to just sync their dash cam stuff up to the cloud. I know Tesla did have a feature where you can send a 30-second clip to your phone, but this is automatic. It connects to Wi-Fi. You can send the full dash cam and Sentry footage. And they're really geared around tracking FSD data. So you can pair your car and it'll actually show you on a map where you had FSD disengagements. It uses audio detection, and you can see some really interesting data about FSD. So go check them out at the link to the top. Thank you for them to sponsoring. I've been trying out their beta product for a little bit, and it's pretty cool. I like that you can see all your disengagements on a map. I find that pretty useful for what I'm doing.
Awesome stuff. Thanks for sponsoring the show, Matter T. And again, that's
I was
been
on
the
a
top
call
guys.
the other
You can
day.
go and check that
We're
out.
talking about
We would
revenue and
appreciate
cash
that.
flow. I'll just
Okay,
start with
we're going to get into some
cash
questions.
is a fact.
If you're in the audience and you have
revenue
questions,
is
I know we have a
theory.
couple of people
And
up
the
here
reason
already
that is
lined up.
because you
But
can't spend
we
revenue.
will probably be able to get
You can only
through
spend
a
cash.
few. So
And
let's
how
start
that
with
translates into
Arthur.
things
What's going on?
is that there was a
Hey guys,
story
thanks for hosting
of
this.
a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu
I was
grandmaster.
thinking about the Memphis supercluster and the quick scale up. I think something that people misjudge about Elon when they make comments like, "Oh, like he's not an engineer; he just pays engineers." Like, in order to scale up something so complex that involves software and hardware that quickly, you have to be an actual genius and know which things that you can sort of scope down requirements on, and which things have to be done to perfection. And I mean, to be able to do it that fast is just insane. So I was curious if you've spoken to any of the folks involved in the Memphis Supercluster and what their experience has been like.
I have not personally spoken to anyone involved in the supercluster directly. I've kind of indirectly spoken to people at Tesla about it, but I've not spoken to anyone that built it directly. I don't know if Sawyer or Omar have.
No, I haven't either. I will say that I agree that one of Elon's best skills is putting together teams that can help execute his vision and quickly on that. And I don't speak much to XAI people. They do follow. Some of them follow me and interact with me occasionally, but no, I don't think I've spoken to anyone that actually helped build it.
Yeah, I mean, even Jensen was shocked at how fast this thing went up. He was like, how did you guys do that? But, I mean, we're talking about a guy who builds rocket ships here. Plugging in a bunch of GPUs in Tennessee is relatively easy compared to actually sending something into space and bringing it back. So, I mean, it's really a combination of things. One, he has great technical acumen, but he also understands business. He understands what the company needs to do. He understands how to motivate people, how to get them to move fast, do the best work of their life. And you really see that across this company. So you're really seeing similar things, whether it's in Memphis or in Texas. They're building up these giant clusters because they're just going to be instrumental to providing the features that are going to change our world. And you see most of these companies, they're renting from Amazon or they're renting from Microsoft or they're renting from some other company. They've made a very deliberate choice to vertically integrate and run their own data centers. And it's going to result in being able to offer these cutting edge AI features at a lower cost than anybody else.
Yeah, totally. And one of the things that I think is remarkable about SpaceX that the reason I'm asking is because I don't know if they have this advantage yet at XAI. Like, yes, he has the ability to build a team. But at SpaceX, when Elon, and one of my friends who's going to be, he's a launch engineer, he's going to be transferring from the Falcon program to Starship literally like this week or something. But when I hear his stories about, Elon says, hey, we're going to increase the launch frequency by 30%. Like the launch cadence just has to go up, make it happen. It's like, that makes a bit more sense when they already have a launch cadence and they've proven their ability and they have a team that knows how to do things and it's about optimizing a process. To go from like literally nothing to having Grok 2 and then to building the Memphis Supercluster is just insane. So, I mean, among his impressive accomplishments, that's just like next level to me.
Yeah, I mean, the speed at which they caught up with Grok and really built a state-of-the-art model is incredible. And, I think it's really, you can have a manager who sets aggressive goals, but if they don't have the technical acumen to know what's right on the boundary of possible, what's really difficult but doable, what do I see that makes me think we can actually achieve this? That's the combination that I think makes it incredibly powerful. Setting goals that seem insane but are actually achievable and then pushing the engineers to do it, it makes a huge difference whether you've got a leader who is telling everyone to row in the same direction versus companies that don't have that type of top-down push.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, the HBS case of this would be like, well, it's important to just reduce your timeline by 1/10 and then tell the team and make everybody sit down in a room and tell them to just move faster. It's like, well, that clearly doesn't work. Otherwise, everybody would do it. Like, Elon's able to accomplish that in practice because he has not only the buy-in, but also just the level of technical acumen to know which things to, prioritize and which things to scope out. Anyway, sorry, I know I've been chatting for a bit. I'll stop talking.
Appreciate that. No, but I agree with what all you're saying. I mean, I mentioned it earlier as well, what Omar said about Jensen being impressed. Jensen's at the top of the food chain when it comes to the GPU universe. If he's impressed, that means there's something to be impressed about.
The question about regarding Model Y, I just missed the hardware 4 rollout on my Model Y, so I've got hardware 3. I'm thinking about the Juniper. I'm wondering from the panel, any guesses on timing of Juniper, and are there other features that you think are going to be incorporated in the new Model Y refresh?
Model Y refresh? I've never heard of that. Well,
Yeah.
we don't want to talk about any future products. We want to have a record quarter, so everyone go buy the current Model Y. 0% APR.
Got it. Right, Omar. Understood.
You can probably take a guess, though. Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Just a quick question. With robotics, the implication for lower skilled workers across the economy, I'm not trying to make an argument that we shouldn't be going forward with what we're doing, but I'm just wondering what you guys, if anyone's talking about how it's going to change the economy for people who don't have very good skills. Thank you.
I think everyone's going to be happy and it's going to be amazing. So you may have a future where, let's say, 75% of the humans on the construction of a building are eliminated, right? So 25% humans, 75% robots. So you'd have humans working alongside the robots, probably telling them what to do, giving them instructions, checking their work, that type of thing. And, the robots doing most of the hard stuff. But then, imagine you eliminate 75% of the labor cost. They can work 24/7, but now you've reduced construction to such an extent that, people are building 10 times as many buildings or something like that, right? So there's going to be transition costs, obviously. There's going to be some disruption. But ultimately, we're talking about huge gains in economic efficiency and I think a higher standard of living for your average American.
Yep, agreed.
All right, Aaron, you're up next.
No, he just went.
Oh, okay, I thought that was Wes. Okay, Baboozing, you're up next. Baboozing. Okay. All right, Alex. Alex, what's going on?
Oh, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Ken, what's up?
So, I am an electrical engineer and I work in the field of commissioned electrical substations and know a thing or two about power production and demand. So, with the widespread development in electric transportation and robotic, I would expect to see the avalanche demand growth, demand for electricity. And in the United States, we are deficient. We're deficient and it's pretty bad, to the point that when I work for utilities, they sometimes let people sit and do nothing in the summer days and in the wintertime because they are scared of having a substation or a power line to get out of the service. The reason for that is, again, the system is very deficient. Why is it deficient? Because there's not enough production. Generation is deficient. We rely for, a lot of time rely for a coal, but nobody likes coal anymore. We rely for a nuclear, but most people in the United States don't even know how to spell that word. They say nuclear. People don't know. And a lot of well-wishers, busybodies, they decided to go ahead and start developing the wind and solar, which in my opinion is nothing but road to hell that is paved with good intentions. They don't provide enough what we call base load. They don't provide stability to the system. It's a disaster. The only thing that can save us from getting to the right goal is looking at more nuclear, but nuclear is the only decision that can give us, it's a silver bullet. But people don't understand that, and that's what my question is. How would we solve this problem in terms of solar deficiency?
People are building 10 times as many buildings or something like that, right?
my English is not
there's
so
going to
good.
be transition costs. Obviously, there's going to be some disruption. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty big question. There are definitely a ton of things that need reform. You know, when we talk about the sort of deregulatory push on the government side, modernizing our electric grid, I think, is a national security issue now. Because you really look at these AI training data centers and you look at their power consumption, and if China can build out a better electric grid to support the build out of bigger and faster data centers, then they will have more advanced AI than us, and that's a military advantage. So I think it's really imperative, not just for electric vehicles, but also for AI data centers, that we have deregulation, modernization, that we modernize our electric grid, and we probably do need a lot of nuclear, a lot of natural gas, a lot of battery packs paired with renewable resources like the Megapack, and just generally a massive build out in electric generation and transmission capacity. And it's kind of hard to imagine that in the current regulatory regime where things move so slowly in terms of building out new infrastructure. So this could be something that hopefully the incoming administration addresses. I think it's a really important national priority.
Thank you for this answer. And I just wanted to also throw in one thing, so that a lot of people in these spaces are good, decent people with the probably technical background, a lot of them. We can solve this problem, and we can do it fast. We have the technology called the molten salt reactors. It's reactors that don't use solid state fuel in it, but instead they're using the thorium-232, which is the element that is very abundant. You know, it's 4 times more abundant than uranium. And currently in the normal, typical power plants that we use in the world, it's only 3% of the mass of the fuel that is feasible. So it's just 3% of this amount of mass that they use in the fuel is feasible. So you can extract energy out of that. The rest of it is just a placeholder, which we call uranium-238, which is fertile material. And so every 18 months they have to stop the nuclear power plants for the refueling, and it stays out of service for a few weeks while they remove the fuel out of it and put it in the cooling storages, and then after it's cooling out they can put it into the waste gaskets, and it's going to stay radioactive for hundreds of thousands of years, if not longer. But here in the United States in 1960s, late 1960s, mid-1960s to 1970, they ran the experimental reactor in Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Tennessee, successfully ran it for 4 years, based on the molten salt principle. So instead of using uranium-235, they used thorium-232. You know, I could engage into a long conversation how it transmutates to uranium-233, which is a feasible material. We could have thousands of years of uninterrupted supply of pretty cheap and safe, walk-away safe and proliferation-free power, and not just electricity, but also industrial, which is also in demand. So I just think I'm for one.
Alex, we do appreciate the lesson on nuclear physics, but we do have to get to our other questions. We're running a little over.
Just check the thorium reactors, guys. That is the silver bullet.
All right, we'll check it out. All right, Dustin's up next. What's up?
Hi, I'm trying to build a fleet of Teslas for when Robotaxi is done, and I've sent like tons of messages to Tesla, but do you think they'll ever be open to selling or allowing small fleet operators to buy superchargers?
To buy superchargers?
having a substation.
Kyle from Out of Spec. Kyle from Out of Spec did buy a DC fast charger from ChargePoint, so you can buy them from other companies. I don't think Tesla sells them.
Right. That's basically my point. You just have to buy an inferior product. And so, anyways, I was just curious if you guys had heard that, they're creating this whole Tesla robotaxi opportunity, but right now the service waits are weeks. And what happens if I've got a whole fleet of Tesla, and I need service and it's making money, and then, can I get my own charging infrastructure that, is actually, works better than EVgo or some of these other companies that are out there. So that was just my question, if you guys had heard anything or if there'd been any commentary that I had.
Humans working alongside the robots, probably telling them what to do. Yeah, the wall connector is a pretty good solution. Also, for people who are running small fleets, I would check out the Tesla Business Portal. I didn't know this existed until recently. With the Tesla Business Portal, you have a web interface. You can track big fleets of Teslas, book service for them, all that stuff with this special business portal. They even have a special business shop with things like, supercharging signs and things like that. So check out the Tesla Business Portal if you have a fleet of Teslas. Talking about huge gains in economic efficiency and I think a higher standard of living for your average American.
All right, Virus, you're up next.
All right, Aaron, you're up next.
Hey guys, thanks for hosting the space. I had a quick, I wanted to pick your brains a little bit with something. So I'm very optimistic about the, I want to say like the data ramping of FSD, right? Tesla gathered a bunch of data before FSD version 12, and ever since then, the trajectory has gone more exponential. What I'm curious on is with the introduction of FSD 13 and it being trained on hardware 4 data, I'm curious what you guys think about not just the inevitability that Tesla will get more data from FSD 13, but in addition to that, the quality of data will improve as well because of where it's being fed from. So moving forward, looking into the future as well with hardware 5 and potentially 6, is it not just the quantity of data, but also is the quality? And do you think this is going to lead to an acceleration that, not even Tesla might be expecting?
They sometimes let people sit and do nothing in the summer days.
Well, the quality of data I wouldn't say has changed, right? So they just pull videos from the fleet of, 7 million cars now. So that's not really changing. What's changing is A, their ability to sort through that data, find the best examples from the fleet, especially as time goes on, and B, particularly the compute. The compute has really been a big vector in the improvements we're seeing, allowing them to train models faster, allowing them to train bigger models, to use the higher resolution hardware 4 images and still get a model out in time. So really, compute and data size, the size of their data set, have been the primary means of the improvements we've seen in V13.
Gotcha. Thank you for that.
Robots. So you have humans working alongside the robots, probably telling them what to do, giving them instructions, checking their work, that type of thing. And
all right, who's next up?
Imagine you eliminate 75% of the labor costs. They can work 24/7, but now you've reduced construction.
I think we got to everyone. I sometimes can't tell if we're being speaker or not because of how this thing switches. But either way, we're about 15 minutes over time here, so we are going to close things out. We appreciate all of you for tuning in. Again, we'll see you guys next week, same time, same place, 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Eastern. We appreciate all of you. Make sure you're following the Tesla Talk account.
Oh, one last thing I'll say. I see John from Tesla Owners of Silicon Valley here. He did have a great event last night where they, I think they were in Santana Row and had the Cybercab there. We had some engineers talking, and I think Tessa Lee posted a video. I think Elon might have retweeted it maybe, of just the engineer talking a little bit about the Cybercab. You know, a lot of people ask, why does it have 2 seats? They don't really understand the design. And I thought those are some really good comments by the engineers there about some of the design thinking that went in behind it.
Yeah, I think it was like 82% of all miles driven are literally 2 or less people. So I think that's the main reason. Obviously, I think we've heard the crazy stats about Uber. I think it's like 90% of most rides are 2 or less people. So them doing a very utilitarian interior and making this vehicle as efficient as possible with only 2 seats makes complete sense. But it sounds like a lot of the actual details of like the actual materials that like whether it's going to be stainless steel or some other carbon fiber, like a lot of those details are still being worked out. But they did. I mean, they answered. I unfortunately was not, because we were hosting the event. I didn't get to ask a lot of questions, but I know people like Tessa Ali and some of the other people were able to ask some great questions. And obviously they only answered stuff that was either public or they were allowed to talk about. But it was a really cool event, especially there's a guy named Eric Easley who is the lead engineer on Cybercab, and he came and he was the guy that was essentially in the video. He's kind of like the equivalent of Wes for the Cybertruck. And so, I believe he reports directly to Franz. And they had, again, 3 to 5 engineers. They hung out for over 2.5 hours just talking, kind of like what, Franz does at these events. But they just all came out and talked. And I was able to talk to the guy, one of the engineers who deals specifically with the body design, and so he was able to show some cool things. But he had worked on the Cybertruck, and then now he's focused on the Cybercab. But yeah, it was a really cool event. Shout out to Tesla for being willing to do something like that.
Now you've reduced. Yeah, really great event. You're always doing great events. You got the Tesla takeover coming up in Alameda, which I'm excited about. But yeah, definitely watch that video from Tesla Lee. They talk about a lot of interesting things. One thing that Sawyer mentioned in his tweet about it, they cut out 50% of the parts. It's got 50% fewer parts compared to the Model 3, which is kind of mind-blowing, right? The Model 3 is not in itself a very bloated vehicle with a lot of things you can remove. I mean, it doesn't even have stocks, right? So they cut 50% of the parts out. They talked about how, it's funny, right? We have 5 seats in our car because everybody wants to be able to take 5 people, even though you're probably going to do it, less than 20% of the time. But you're always lugging around those 5 seats just in case someone needs them. For a robo-taxi where it's just going to be a vehicle you're using temporarily, why not focus it around 1 or 2 seats and make it super efficient? And they said the aerodynamic profile of the vehicle, we can actually have a lower roof in the back and not worry about headroom and actually have a much greater efficiency overall, which ultimately brings down the cost. They talked about cleaning. They're like, hey, there's no 2 doors we have to open. There's no little nooks where, crumbs and stuff can hide. This becomes a super easy thing to clean in an automated way. They've really put a lot of thought into this, and it's kind of exciting to hear some of their thinking behind it and why this is really going to be the dominant rideshare vehicle, I think.
They also shared about, I was able to confirm that there is going to be no front. And I asked them a little bit about why that was the case. And they actually talked about the utilization of the Model 3 and Model Y front. And they say it's actually really just not, if they look at the stats of it opening and closing, there's just not a whole lot of utilization. So when you think of something that is super utilitarian and meant to do tens of thousands of rides, they essentially just deleted that. And again, can you imagine the amount of parts that, again, it's just small things, but if you don't need to really do anything with the trunk area because it's not utilized and you have this huge trunk space, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, and it does have a pretty big rear trunk. So anyway, we're over our time, but thanks so much, John, for joining us, and thanks to everybody and the listeners for joining us. And thanks again to our sponsor, Matter Key. Definitely go check them out.
Thank you.
Robots. So you have humans working alongside what to do, giving them instructions, checking their work, that type of thing.
Next week, same time,
And,
same place.
the robots doing most of the hard stuff. But then, imagine you eliminate 75% of the labor costs. They can work 24/7, but now you've reduced construction to such an extent that, people are building 10 times as many buildings or something like that, right? So there's going to be transition costs, obviously. There's going to be some disruption. But ultimately, we're talking about huge gains in economic efficiency and, I think, a higher standard of living for your average American.
Yep, agreed.
All right, Aaron, you're up next.
No, he just went.
Oh, okay, I thought that was Wes. Okay, Boozing, you're up next. Boozing. Okay. All right, Alex. Alex, what's going on?
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Ken, what's up?
So, I am an electrical engineer and I work with commission electrical substations. Know the thing actually about production and demand. So, with the widespread development in electric transportation and alike, I would expect to see the avalanche demand growth, demand for electricity. And in the United States, we are deficient. We're deficient and it's pretty bad to the point that when I work for utilities, they sometimes let people sit and do nothing in the summer days and in the winter time because they are scared of having a substation or a power line to get out of the service. The reason for that is, again, the system is really deficient. Why is it deficient? Because there's not enough production. Generation is deficient. We rely for, a lot of time rely for coal, but nobody likes coal anymore. We rely for nuclear, but most people in the United States don't even know how to spell that word. They say nuclear. People don't know, and a lot of well-wishers, busybodies, they decided to go ahead and start developing the wind and solar, which in my opinion is nothing but road to hell to despite with good intentions. They don't provide enough what we call base load. They don't provide stability to the system. It's a disaster.
Robots. So you have humans working alongside the robots, probably telling them what to do, giving them instructions, checking their work, that type of thing. And the robots doing most of the hard stuff. But then, imagine you eliminate 75% of the labor costs. They can work 24/7, but now you've reduced construction to such an extent that, people are building 10 times as many buildings or something like that, right? So there's going to be transition costs, obviously. There's going to be some disruption. But ultimately, we're talking about huge gains in economic efficiency and, I think, a higher standard of living for your average American.
Yep, agreed.
All right, Aaron, you're up next.
No, he just went.
Oh, okay, I thought that was Wes. Okay, Boozing, you're up next. Boozing. Okay. All right, Alex. Alex, what's going on?
Oh, hello, can you guys hear me?
Ken, what's up?
So, I am an electrical engineer and I work with commission electrical substations. Know the thing actually about production and demand. So, with the widespread development in electric transportation and alike, I would expect to see the avalanche demand growth, demand for electricity. And in the United States, we are deficient. We're deficient and it's pretty bad to the point that when I work for utilities, They sometimes let people sit and do nothing in the summer days and in the wintertime because they are scared of having a substation or a power line to get out of the service. The reason for that is, again, the system is very deficient. Why is it deficient? Because that's not enough production. Generation is deficient. We rely for a lot of time rely for coal, but nobody likes coal anymore. We rely for nuclear, but most people in the United States don't even know how to spell that word. They say nuclear. People don't know, and a lot of well-wishers, busybodies, they decided to go ahead and start developing the wind and solar, which in my opinion is nothing but road to hell displayed with good intentions. They don't provide enough what we call base load. They don't provide stability to the system. It's a disaster.
Robots, so you have humans working alongside the robots, probably telling them what to do, giving them instructions, checking their work, that type of thing. And the robots doing most of the hard stuff. But then, imagine you eliminate 75% of the labor costs. They can work 24/7, but now you've reduced construction to such an extent that people are building 10 times as many buildings or something like that, right? So there's going to be transition costs. Obviously, there's going to be some disruption, but ultimately, we're talking about huge gains in economic efficiency and I think a higher standard of living for your average American.
Yep, agreed. All right, Aaron, you're up next. No, he just went. Oh, okay, I thought that was Wes. Okay, Papoose, you're up next. Papoose. Okay. All right, Alex. Alex, what's going on?
Oh, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Ken, what's up?
So, I am an electrical engineer and I work with commission electrical substations. The thing is about production and demand. So, with the widespread development in electric transportation and aerobic, I would expect to see the avalanche demand growth, demand for electricity. And in the United States, we are deficient. We're deficient and it's pretty bad to the point that when I work for utilities, they sometimes let people sit and do nothing in the summer days and in the wintertime because they are scared of having a substation or a power line to get out of the service. The reason for that is, again, the system is very deficient. Why is it deficient? Because there's not enough production. Generation is deficient. We rely for a lot of time rely for coal, but nobody likes coal anymore. We rely for nuclear, but most people in the United States don't even know how to spell that word. They say nuclear. People don't know, and a lot of well-wishers, busybodies, they decided to go ahead and start developing the wind and solar, which in my opinion is nothing but road to hell displayed with good intentions. They don't provide enough what we call base load. They don't provide stability to the system. It's a disaster.
Robots, so you have humans working alongside the robots, probably telling them what to do, giving them instructions, checking their work, that type of thing. And the robots doing most of the hard stuff. But then, imagine you eliminate 75% of the labor costs. They can work 24/7, but now you've reduced construction to such an extent that people are building 10 times as many buildings or something like that, right? So there's going to be transition costs. Obviously, there's going to be some disruption, but ultimately, we're talking about huge gains in economic efficiency and I think a higher standard of living for your average American.
Yep, agreed. All right, Aaron, you're up next. No, he just went. Oh, okay, I thought that was Wes. Okay, Papoose, you're up next. guys hear me? Ken, what's up?
So I am an electrical engineer and I work with commission electrical substations. The thing about production and demand. So with the widespread development in electric transportation and alike, I would expect to see the avalanche demand growth, demand for electricity. And in the United States, we are deficient. We're deficient and it's pretty bad to the point that when I work for utilities, they sometimes let people sit and do nothing in the summer days and in the winter time because they are scared of having a substation or a power line to get out of the service. The reason for that is, again, the system is very deficient. Why is it deficient? Because that's not enough production. Generation is deficient. We rely for a lot of time rely for coal, but nobody likes coal anymore. We rely for nuclear, but most people in the United States don't even know how to spell that word. They say nuclear. People don't know, and a lot of well-wishers, busybodies, they decided to go ahead and start developing the wind and solar, which in my opinion is nothing but road to hell displayed with good intentions. They don't provide enough what we call base load. They don't provide stability to the system. It's a disaster.
Robots. So you have humans working alongside the robots, probably telling them what to do, giving them instructions, checking their work, that type of thing. And the robots doing most of the hard stuff. But then, imagine you eliminate 75% of the labor cost. They can work 24/7, but now you've reduced construction to such an extent that, people are building 10 times as many buildings or something like that, right? So there's going to be transition costs, obviously. There's going to be some disruption. But ultimately, we're talking about huge gains in economic efficiency and, I think, a higher standard of living for your average American.
Yep, agreed. All right, Aaron, you're up next. No, he just went. Oh, okay, I thought that was Wes. Okay, Babuzing, you're up next. Babuzing. Okay. All right, Alex. Alex, what's going on? Oh, hello. Can you guys hear me? Ken, what's up?
So I am an electrical engineer and I work with commission electrical substations. The thing about production and demand. So with the widespread development in electric transportation and alike, I would expect to see the avalanche demand growth, demand for electricity. And in the United States, we are deficient. We're deficient and it's pretty bad to the point that when I work for utilities, they sometimes let people sit and do nothing in the summer days and in the winter time because they are scared of having a substation or a power line to get out of the service. The reason for that is, again, the system is very deficient. Why is it deficient? Because that's not enough production. Generation is deficient. We rely for a lot of time rely for coal, but nobody likes coal anymore. We rely for nuclear, but most people in the United States don't even know how to spell that word. They say nuclear. People don't know, and a lot of well-wishers, busybodies, they decided to go ahead and start developing the wind and solar, which in my opinion is nothing but road to hell displayed with good intentions. They don't provide enough what we call base load. They don't provide stability to the system.
Only on Fridays.
But you're definitely not a Richmonder, that's for sure. Are you a liar?
No, I'm very flattered that you know my area to try regard
so this is the thing. Now suddenly you're sounding a little bit more posh. Now it's getting a little bit more.
That sounds exactly the way I did.
Listen,
don't to quick assumptions.
I'm doing something else. I'm actually like texting with my ex-boyfriend, so like just leave me alone because otherwise I'm gonna get pissed off. And for some reason, I have decided that I don't like you, but I actually thought you were somebody else. So
I know.
What is it they say? Like
Billy, by the way,
nice
maybe, do you know, I do give you some credit. Maybe the way, like, you believe that my accent should sound.
No, you're fucking.
Wait. Could be due to the fact that I live in Wales and I currently live in Scotland.
And also with all your fucking like Muslim bullshit, it's like what kind of? It's like you're from.
That's why you think I'm from
like,
Croydon.
I cannot stand it. I cannot stand it. It's like newcomers into a new country with all your fucking Muslim bullshit.
She mistaken me for somebody else, and she's drunk, and I'm bored.
No, because it's only so. There's two options: either you like Pakistani or you like.
I'm not Pakistani.
Yeah,
I have the flags in my bio.
So you see, I'm Persian. We don't fucking do this because we escape all of that. But you take your shit and you bring it over, and you're so fucking proud of it because you're so stupid to know that whatever you run away from, you actually just like you don't even know. You just want to prove it even.
Because she's assuming I'm Pakistani or Indian or some shit, but. Just like look at my PTO and my bio, like I proudly display my nationality.
Walking too far.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what's so much proud to be Pakistani about.
I'm Ukrainian.
Well, whatever the fuck you are, whatever the fuck you did not like about the country you were living in, but then you didn't like it there, and then you take it to a different country, and then you try and impose it there.
My mother's vagina.
Whatever. The only thing that says about you is that you don't have the fucking capacity to do good for yourself, whether you fucking left there or whether you were lucky to get somewhere else. So
I fell out.
Get the fuck out and let somebody else who knows what they can do and for some reason like benefit the new life or whatever.
I can't comprise a sentence.
Listen, I'm talking with my ex. When I'm done,
I thought you were going to say arse. But London, the reason why maybe you're getting slightly mixed up with my accent is because I lived in Wales before. So I lived in London, then I lived in Wales, then I lived in Scotland. So yeah, you probably do hear a little bit of other things going on there. But no, my accent's mostly London, Richmond, London. I fell out of my mother's vagina in Westminster though, so maybe you got a bit of that too.
Why'd you fall out? Sorry, I just got here.
How else? Maybe slither out. Maybe I'm using the wrong descriptive words here. I slithered out my mother's vagina. I'm sorry. Shut the fuck up,
Yo, pause that. What the fuck?
Oh my god. Anyway,
it's different, man.
Bibi, what part of London did you say you were from? Nottingham or Tottenham?
Probably Peckham. She sounds like a Peckham.
Oh yeah.